Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Agada.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyinji.
Okay. Korsa. Nsila ID soto.
Ah, sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara Allah service o tariya.
Ah,
mbare ki janna nun kuno bara tariya.
Ah, jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Ha. Birim koyna fo katon.
Bari si kodo kino katon ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto ni kodi maraw. Jannam number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wala nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi mani domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Ha wo mo yo diat ha.
Apelenta
ni mo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e binaji.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Hello and welcome to this special program. If you've been following us for the past couple of hours, we were broadcasting from the National Assembly chambers where the debate on the new draft constitution was taking place. And as we speak right now, the National Assembly have rejected the draft constitution that was tabled by the Honorable Minister of Justice, Mr. Jallo. And of course, to join me in this conversation, a lot of Gambians are shocked, so many people are worried. What is the way forward? To join me today to discuss all of this, I have Mr. Nyanjai. Nyanjai is a blogger who is also very much interested and au fait with Gambian affairs. I have Mr. Suleiman Bokarba, all the way from the United Kingdom. Suleiman is a UDP. Why am I giving you UDP? It's a PDOS.
That'll be a crime.
And I have Mr. Lamin Tamba. Lamin is all the way from the UK as well. Lamin, thanks for joining us. Lamin is an APRC sympathizer. And of course, I have Mr. Ahmed Jite. Ahmed all the way from Canada. Ahmed is an supporter. Welcome to the program, Ahmed. And later on, I will be joined by Barrister Sadio Barrow from the United States. And also, we will be having Karamba Toure from the United States. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are the most independent. What is your reaction to this verdict from the National Assembly?
Thank you so much. Fatou, you're talking to me, right?
Yes, what's your reaction? I'll get your reaction first.
All right, thank you so much. It's a sad day for the Gambia, sad in the sense that we said we wanted a transition. A transition comes with a break from the past and, you know, a leap forward to the new. So we needed to usher in a third republic. We can't have a third republic without a constitution. And the unfortunate bit about it, the CRC has given every organization, institution, and an individual the opportunity to have their say on the document through consultation. And after the document is written, they have also given everyone an opportunity again for review. They had a review period. So today, I am ashamed of the people we sent to the parliament to do work on our behalf by bouncing back. It's like we wrote a check and they said insufficient funds and bounced the check. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Wow. Suleiman, what's your reaction?
Well, it is a mixed feeling, but obviously this is very typical or common in constitution writing. Which there is always a tension between drafting to adoption. That relationship there has never been easy from country to country. But the reality is political miscalculations or strategies led to such a situation, which could have been avoided from the onset. And here for me, I will blame the then coalition for really delaying the reform process, which led us to such a situation. And for me, it was really deliberate because they had the opportunity to quickly make some amendments to the 1997 Constitution. Perhaps some will argue that that was to suit particular individuals. They could have fast-tracked the reforms, the legislative reforms that they promised to the electorate from the onset. But they did not do that. They reinvented another strategy that we are going to write a new constitution. We are not going to get involved into piecemeal amendments. But the promise to the electorate, the manifesto that was submitted to the IEC, was that there would be reforms and amendments would be done to the 1997 Constitution. And some elements that Jammeh took out would be brought back, like the second round of voting, like the simple majority. But for me, it is a deliberate political strategy that has now backfired. That is what it looks like.
And Ahmed, what is your reaction? I saw you already celebrating on Facebook. I guess I know, but for my viewers, what is your reaction?
Thank you very much. Special greetings to all of you. I don't know if I'm audible. I don't know if
yes, we can hear you properly.
Special greetings to all of you, to the viewers, to the panelists, and particularly to my uncle Nyanjai. I'm sorry you're very sad and disappointed today. I mean, Fatou, it's not everything that is right is, celebrated. I wouldn't say whether I'm happy or not, but I would say the right thing has happened. Now, I don't want to directly
Ahmed, Ahmed.
Yeah.
Ahmed, your sound is not coming out very good. Go ahead, let me hear where it's coming from. You go ahead.
So I've asked if I am coming clearly. If I'm not,
you're coming good now. Yes.
Okay. So I do not want to give a direct response to Uncle Njai, who said, the insufficient fund about the check. But I mean, I can say this for certain that we know the CRC went around to consult with Gambians in and outside of the Gambia, and Gambians expressed their views and aspirations. But I can tell you for certain that they have, and whether this is deliberate or unintentional, omitted. They have omitted a lot that Gambians expressed to them. And to me, this constitution, let it go back, wherever it comes from. We have good faith in them. We've assigned them to go and do a job for us. Of course, they've talked to people. It's one thing to go around and listen to the views of the people, but it's another thing to say that the views of Gambians is in this constitution. If you say, I don't know which Gambians you talk about, because there are Gambians whose views are not represented, are not reflected in this constitution. So, I mean, I wouldn't call it constitution draft. So, I mean, to me, the right thing has happened.
Thank you very much. Lamin Tamba, what is your reaction to what just happened at the National Assembly?
Well, I'm elated that the draft constitution has been thrown out. At least for the time being, these people had to be fed the humble pie. The only regret I have right now is the fact that 166 million approximately of Gambian taxpayers' money is blown to pieces. That's my only regret. But I do not regret the fact that the draft constitution has been thrown out. This draft constitution has been written for a few individuals. And we can't allow, as a country, for a government to come in on the pretext of trying to reform what was wrong, things that didn't work out. And then they come in and set up their small little islands where they can benefit individually, where they can discriminate against people, where they can leave a lot of stuff vague. First and foremost, like Suleiman Bokar said, they were going to amend the current constitution of 1997 for free. Parliament could have done this without costing us a dime. We had a parliamentary committee that could have been set up to look at the 1997 constitution, amend the constitution like they did with the age limit, amend the constitution like they did with the contributions or the expulsion of serving MPs. They could have done all of that for free at a very quick pace. They amended the age limit within a space of a couple of weeks, or the same week actually. They amended the clause that expelled MPs if they defected parties.
Lamin, Lamin, you're breaking up so bad. You know, UK, I always call you guys third world people. Your internet is never good, huh? You're breaking so bad. You're breaking so bad. So let's bring in Sadio Barrow, lawyer Sadio Barrow. Sadio, I know you, Sadio. You did a last minute pitch to the National Assembly members on Sunday, right? And you put up very good arguments, and I thought, some of them would listen. What's your reaction to the outcome?
I would say good morning to everyone, and it's good to see Young. I always follow him doing his thing. But Tamba and others, I'm disappointed, to be honest, and then not because I believe that the draft is perfect, but I think it's it's a step in the right direction, and then I expect NAM, because they are our representative in the parliament, to do what majority aspire them to do. And then the reason I say that is NAM, from a historical, this is the problem, this is how I look at it. I mean, we can cherry pick and choose, but the problem is, since the 70s, this is what I have realized in parliament today, and then these few 2 days. 97, we effectively transformed into a republican system, just like the North Americans and most, but we still, in our parliamentary process, we are still stuck in that parliamentary system of government. So it's like somehow our parliaments, they still rely on these old standing orders and whatnot in order to, run their affairs. But when it comes to writing bill, we expect parliament to write. And then, yes, they don't have the capacity, and then we should support them to do that. So that's the whole point of effectively farming this writing portion of the Constitution to CRC. And then, of course, they delegate that authority with an oversight over them, saying that we want you to consult with our people, and then put in the draft what should be there. Now, I'm going to give reference to CRC, saying that, because I read the report, like, we actually reflect the views and aspiration of Gambians in this draft, except with few things, citizenship, and I think at 2 other areas where they actually defer to their own, argument, saying that we are not going to give automatic birthright citizenship because of X, Y, and Z, and then give their justification. That's fine. Now, I will consider a little bit to Gite what he says, because I know he doesn't say, he said a lot of the things Gambians want in this constitution is not there. The only thing I would go as far as to the extent, maybe in terms of LGBT issues, I would defer that to Gite. And then I believe maybe majority of the Gambian, if you pull, unless something happened overnight, we would agree that they would, in fact, left to them, Christians, Muslims, they would say no LGBT provisions in the constitution. And it doesn't actually reflect it or expressively written in such a way to show that aspiration. That's the only thing. My only beef is, with all its defect, Parliament has the legislative authority. And then all the questions that were raised, the concern to me, you can actually fix this. If you are interested in national development and you don't want the money to be wasted, yes, we could have cured the defect of 97 Constitution. I'll come there later. But why not vote for the bill? Because you would still need 3/4 of the members at least to move it for the 3rd reading. Go to committee stage, reach a compromise, win out whatever should be taken out, or actually adjourn and then go to your respective constituencies, ask them, look, this is what CRC brought to us, and then they say this is a reflection of what you tell them. Is this in fact true? They have vehicles, they can go there, talk to your people, and if they tell you yes, this is what we want, then at least you are assured, and then you are okay. If they tell you, no, this is not what is reflected, we tell them X, and then we are seeing why we haven't done that, then you can change it. And then we'll still save the day. We want to reach a compromise, make it be safe. That's what lawmaking is all about. It's about compromises. You don't get, someone could come with another document and then another camp could refuse to accept it. Otherwise, we will not anywhere. There would be trade-off. That's my thing with it. Now, with 97, I would agree with Tamba. We can actually change that cost effectively. And then because we can all agree, all the amendments, whether 59, 60, that has been done on 97, they were all non-entering clauses. So which means we can actually fix that in one bill and then revert it back and then make it better. My issue with 97 is not the document itself. It has some good, provisions there. My issue with it, it has been tainted. The document is tainted. It's a moral issue. Like, we don't want to look at if we could have a new baby that we can, be proud of, and then the appearance of impropriety with the Constitution. Regardless of how good the provisions are, we can agree and disagree on certain things. But it's just the impropriety associated with it. Whether true or not, we want to detach ourselves as a country from that and then not be viewed as a dictatorship, because that's what it reminds a lot of the people. That's my beef with it, not the provisions. We just want to solve it. And I think today the NAM, what they did, I don't know what would happen in this job, but hopefully they would fix it.
And how do you think they can fix this? Is there any way they can fix this?
Well, my thinking is everyone would have to swallow your pride, and then NAM should come with the bill, because we have the 97 right now, and then National Assembly cannot write laws. They would effectively rely on AG chambers to write laws for them. And then if you want to bring in another CRC, if I were there, the first thing that would come to mind would like, well, do I want to be part of this process after what they did to this other team? And basically indict them for importing their, implanting their own ideas on Gambians. So NAM would have to work with AG chambers, look at the 1970 Constitution, whatever could be salvaged, and then what is not good for us, prepare a bill. They can work on those things right away. Most of these amendments are on entrenched clauses. Fix it before the next election, and then make sure at least we have a document that is good, that would actually cure some of the concerns people have for New Gambia, like, the Public Order Act, the prior restraints on freedom of associations, freedom of movement. We want those things to be there, and then it reflect good values, and then we want to reform in the judicial system where we don't have all this backlog. They can bring a simple bill, work with the EG, fix those things. Eminent among those is the election provisions. Make sure at least there's a framework we can work with, and then something that could keep the peace in the society, and then we move forward. And then that would require all NAM. This is not a personal matter, whether you are in the UDP camp, APRC camp, or other camp, whoever bring this bill, they should work together now and then look at it. Okay, look, we both failed, we learn our lessons, put bipartisan aside, let's work on fix the 97. That's what we have. And then it might have, questionable moral issues, but from a legal standpoint, let's fix what can be fixed there and then move forward until, we have the money to do something else later.
So Lamin Tamba, the entire APRC, I think, voted against this bill. Was it because they wanted to defend the constitution that was obviously people call it the Jammeh Constitution? Was it because of that, or was there any specific thing that prompted that decision? Why would APRC refuse to join the rest of the Gambia to progress? Why was it? Lamin, you are muted.
Okay, I cannot hear Lamin. I don't know.
Yes, he's muted. Lamin, you mute yourself. Can you unmute?
Well, the voice is not still coming clear. But Fatou, just to quickly intervene for Lamin there.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'm
okay, go ahead.
Right. So there are different angles APRC looked at this, because we looked at it as a party, and you can see the pattern that our MPs took on this matter. First and foremost, it's a 1997 constitution anyway. APRC brought it to being. You understand? And we understand that the 1997 constitution was not perfect. As most of the MPs alluded to in Parliament or stated in Parliament, it's not a perfect document. Are you with me? So yes. Therefore, the 1997 constitution could have been amended at no cost at all. We could have had a parliamentary select committee, we could have amended it, and then the 166 million approximately that we lost could have been spent in hospitals to save our women dying today. That's one angle the APRC party looked at it. The other angle we looked at it is these people wanted to change the constitution. They set up a CRC. A CRC, if you want to consult people, you want to set a team that will look at the nation holistically. That commission should have had at least a commissioner in that CRC who is APRC leaning, or almost all the communities in the Gambia should have been represented in both the CRC or the TRRC, because you'll get a very good view of what people think about certain things. They wouldn't have made those mistakes. Look at the CRC. Have you seen any APRC leaning commissioner in there? No. Have you seen the commissioners in there that represent a cross-section of our community? No. Therefore, the composure of that team, the composition is one-sided, is lopsided. It's looking at people who actually do not like the APRC, didn't like the past regime, definitely marginalize certain sections of our community, because I can tell you, in that CRC, the top team hasn't got a cross-section of our country represented. So the arrogance, again, we looked at the different sections of our constitution that will have bread and butter issues on a day-to-day basis, all right? There are provisions in that constitution which we laid out. And I helped the party when it was published earlier this year. I had 2 live videos where I spelled out to the party exactly what the dangers are of that draft constitution for the Gambia, not APRC, to the Gambia. And those provisions, one, were discrimination. APRC has a large Christian and women population. And we felt some of the provisions in there were not clear-cut. They were not crystal clear compared to the 1997 Constitution. For instance, marriage is not clear like it was in the 1990s. It's not as clear as we wanted it as a party. Sharia law is not as clear as it was in the 1997 Constitution. The 1997 Constitution said Sharia should only apply to consenting Muslims. In the draft Constitution, they removed that consenting bit, the fact that it should apply to only Muslims. They left it vague, which means there's room one day to subject Christians to that Sharia law, and then to subject our Gambian population, Christian or Muslim, to Sharia law. I don't have problems with Sharia, but if we have to go Sharia way, we have to go 100% Sharia way. It's not optional in the draft constitution. In the 1997 constitution, it's optional. They created provisions for judges. They created many other things. For instance, it'll be difficult to dismiss a judge for misconduct under the draft constitution. It'll be the same people investigating themselves. So we looked at it from different angles, and we decided we're going to go and vote against the draft constitution. And there are 11 flaws that the APRC party picked out. I cannot go through them one by one. I can go in detail if I had time. But I can tell you that there are 11 fatal flaws that led to the death of this draft constitution. One of the most important of them is retroactive term limits. I did constitutional law. I don't want bragging about my own academic past. You go and talk to my classmates, they'll tell you that. But I can tell you that in constitutional law, in my examination, I came out with a distinction. All right? I can tell you, any codified constitution in the world frowns on retroactive provisions in a constitution. You cannot take a constitution back. Fatou, today you will do something that is in accordance with the law. Tomorrow, Nyanja becomes president. He can go back and say, Fatou, something you did yesterday in accordance with the law is illegal today because we passed a new law. That doesn't happen with public law or administrative law, which is the constitution. It can happen with criminal law or tax law. You can take it backwards, not with administrative law, because you cannot say to somebody, something you did to run an administration accordingly yesterday is bad today. So you cannot say to President Barrow, I'm not a supporter of President Barrow, but you cannot say to President Barrow, your term should start counting from 2016, when the constitution is going to be passed in 2022 or 2021. That's illegal. It's frowned upon in any codified constitution, which is the US, Gambia, and the majority of countries have got codified or what we call written constitution. The few countries that do not have a written codified constitution, like Britain and Israel, even they frown on backdating administrative stuff. They might backdate it because of procedure, but not in the way the law applies or effect of the law. And this is where they went wrong. And Cherno Jallow, of all people, is a Queen's Counsel. I cannot believe something that's frowned upon in the United Kingdom, a definite no-no in the United States, and these are the cradles of democracy, the beacons. If they frown on retroactive legislature when it comes to administrative or public law or what we call constitutional law, why would he apply that in the Gambia? Why does he want to curtail President Barrow's terms because they don't like President Barrow. I do not advocate for something because I like it or dislike it. I advocate for it because it's affecting people and it shouldn't affect them. And this is why APRC went for it emphatically. And we're glad people didn't give us respect. They were arrogant. Your party is small. You don't have enough MPs. We've shown them how a small number can be very effective compared to a large, ineffective group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lamin. Nyanja, you wanted to come in? You were nodding your head the whole time. You're mute. Can you unmute yourself? Mute yourself. Unmute.
It's you guys, Fatou. My mic is on mute.
Go ahead.
Fatou, I'm coming from a different vantage point, and I'll be very blunt. Gambia as a country has a very fragile social fabric, and this review and the attempt to adopt the draft constitution has once again shown the poor social contract that this country is underpinned with. One, we have a country that has been divided since 2016, and not much has been done to close the gap. So these are payback time, irrespective of good or bad things for the country. Let's call a spade a spade. We are suffering because we are not collectively together as Gambians. And today, the greater good of society has suffered for the poor social contract we have. That's number one. Number two, in constitution building, you have consensus and compromise. If you read history, you know that it's through consensus and compromise that you come up with a constitution. But you must have willing parties. The parties coming to the table must be bona fide and in good faith. So people came to the parliament without good faith. They came in to kill a document with or without the merits of the document. Why? Because of political gains. Why? Because of social issues. Why? Because of issues of religion and otherwise. This has shown that the Gambia that we call our country is not ready to move, because yes, we have educated people, but more so we have emotional people in our midst who put their emotions first before logic and country. How can we change this? I was expecting that from 2017 to date, the president should have closed the gap, the social gap, the anger, the frustration of some segments of society who felt marginalized since 2017. This would have been the period to make sure that Gambia as a society is becoming closer and closer and become a close-knit society, rather than a society that walks in silos. Today, we are in silos, and we cannot and we will not do anything going forward. That's number one.
Mute. Fatou Camara, you are Fatou Toure, you are mute. Where are you from?
Also, I mute myself. Yes.
You are mute.
Okay.
Yes, I want to quickly come. I need to go pick my kids from daycare.
Let me say this. President Barrow, this is supposed to be his baby. When President Barrow came in, he is a transitional president. I think that is something that we all need to establish. He was the one who presented this. This was supposed to be his biggest legacy. Why is it that the people supporting the president and the MPs supporting the president voted against this bill?
Well, I mean, it's a very simple answer. So I'll elaborate on other things, but this one is a very simple answer. President Barrow had a very good intention. He appointed or selected people that he trusts in good faith to go and prepare a document that reflects, a document that is in the interest of the people. They funded them. They went and did something else. So, I mean,
what's something else?
About this is about people who are at will to either agree or disagree with President Adama Barrow. Like, I don't know if I'm coming. Am I okay? The mics are not okay. Am I coming?
Yes, you are going in on. Yeah, but you are on. Go ahead.
Okay, somebody was calling me, so that's why I'm sure that's happening. I'm on my phone. So President Adam Barrow had a very good intention from the start. That's why they send a bill to the National Assembly to be enacted. And of course, no sane-minded individual would just, go and blow away money. It is the people that we gave the responsibility to help draft a constitution that is in the interest of the entire country that failed us. The blame is not on the president. In fact, it went to the president. They, observed, they've made their observations and sent it to the National Assembly. I for one, I have called my National Assembly members.
I'm gonna stop you there. GT, we have seen political leaders come out, those who are in support, Halifa Sallah, Lawyer Osenu Dabo, Lawyer Maifati, and who else? Bibi Daw. All of these political parties who are in support of the bill came out. This is the president's baby. Why didn't we see the president on record?
No, the document that is presented at the National Assembly is not the president's baby. The president had an intention to create a baby, and he gave a responsibility to people to create that baby. They went and created a different baby. That is what they presented at the National Assembly. They discriminated against an individual who has a right. They made the constitution retrospective instead of progressive. Number one, they alienated diasporans. Like when people say, this is aspirant diaspora, when you ask, go organize a program. Thousands of diasporans said you can allow diasporans, people with dual citizenship, to run for elections. If they win, they can denounce their citizenship. We've given those suggestions to them. If they lose, leave them with their dual citizenships. These are your own brothers and sisters. They didn't put that in the constitution. People say you have to have an upper age limit, not only lower age. And these are in their report. Why didn't they put upper age limit? Nobody even told them to go and write that judiciary, nowhere in the country where they had a public gathering for people, no human being. I've seen nobody's comment. I've followed them so much. No single Gambian in the open went and told these people that to remove a judge, you need 2/3 or 3/4 of National Assembly. But the president needs 50% to be impeached, and you need 1/3 for the National Assembly members to be recalled. Give me an audio recording or video recording in any gathering, in and outside of the Gambia, where a single Gambian participant suggested this to the National Assembly members, to the CRC. I have not heard or seen any, or viewed any recording, video, or listened to any audio where any Gambian told these drafters that judges should go home with 100% of their salary when they retire. I have not heard that anywhere. These are fundamental issues. And when it comes to people saying we have to compromise, let me respond to Nyanjai on that. We have seen a replica of that in the past. Al-Hadi came into the parliament with a bill. National Assembly members protected themselves and they became independent. Fantastic. That is right to freedom of association. The age limit was removed. For upper age limit, I mean, this was also accepted to give everybody right as Gambians. Now, there are other elected officials, locally elected officials, the mayors, the chairmen and chairwomen, and you have the councillors. Alhaji Jawara presented a private bill for these people to be equally protected. People that are elected by the very same people that elected National Assembly members in the office, to give them also the freedom to associate, to give them that independence. What did an element of National Assembly did? That day, that law that discriminated and gave power to political parties to fire or to dismiss National Assembly members, after which they will lose their seats in parliament, or chairmen or councillors will lose their positions. I mean, they refused. Where were their interests for Gambians on that day on the parliament floor? Where was the interest for Gambia? It is today that they know that this is about Gambians. There was nothing in that particular bill. This one, there are a lot of terrible clauses and you know, pages and whatever in there. We said there is a lot of wrongs. Go correct them. But Alaji Jawra's bill had no ill. There was no single line that was wrong. But yet they rejected it because it is from someone. Who are they to come and teach us about morality, about love for country? Let's go with the 1997 Constitution. I would tell Gambians this. An individual that is in charge of a law can be bad. Laws can be bad, but in most cases, in charge of authority in implementing those laws that are bad. One we are going with, how many people disappeared from their husbands and wives? How many people got arrested without due process? How many people are in jail or remanded beyond their period? These are things that are in the 1997 Constitution. Barrow is not implementing them because Barrow does not want to. Barrow is a good guy. So let's go with it. If, like, you know, Barrow said, you can go and amend it. If you bring a bad document, this is not Barrow's baby. Let me say it again. Barrow intended to create a baby. He entrusted people and it's a bad baby. So thank you so much. I have to go.
Well,
my uncle, I thank you. Thank you so much. I need to go for my kids.
Are you running away? Are you running away?
Oh no, my kids. I need to pick them from daycare. It's all outside. Yeah, I need to pick them.
So
he knows this. He knows about that. So,
okay. All right. So I have Karamba Toure. I have Karamba on the line from the US. Karamba, welcome to this program. Sorry for keeping you. What's your reaction to what happened today?
Oh, well, thank you first of all for inviting me.
Are you hearing Karamba? Are you guys hearing Karamba?
Can you hear me?
I think yes.
Yeah, hello, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me, Fatou, again, and then thank you for hosting my fellow citizens to give their opinion on what I consider to be a very dark day in our we fought very hard.
The network is
hello?
Yeah, hello. It seems like, let me see how I can call you back again. It says it's not audible. Let me call you back again with another phone. Okay, I'll call you back. I'll fix this one. Yeah, I'll fix it properly. Okay, Nyanja, Suleiman, I saw you wanted to react to what Jite was saying. So Jite made a whole scene about this not being the president's baby or not being the president's leg. A lot of us believe this would have been the coalition and the president's legacy.
Absolutely. And I believe Jite has been a little bit more sentimental in his argument, not really presenting the facts of our situation, and taking into consideration of Barrow's promise to the electorate, which for me, I would continue to say, it is a democratic obligation that should be delivered, which some would call a social contract. But quickly, before coming to that, the fundamental issue that we should always ask is, why do we really need a constitution?
Yeah.
It's to steer our democratization process, protect fundamental rights and freedoms. And I will relate this to what Mr. Sadio Barrow was saying in relation to the moral aspect of going with the 1997 Constitution. For me, by all standards, the 1997 Constitution is a libertarian constitution. In other words, it provides and protects all the fundamental rights and freedoms that are universally accepted. Yes, like Lamintamba said, it's not a perfect document. And in particular, it has some monarchical vestiges, particularly for the presidency. These are issues that could have been really looked into and then fast-tracked the reformed agenda that were promised to the electorate. Then we would have not been here. But here and there, you hear Gambians say, arguing that, okay, the 1997 constitution is a Jammeh constitution. And I would disagree. Yes, Jammeh, in fact, to an extent, Jammeh was not even applying. His practice of governance, in reality, was not the application of the 1997 constitution. He was just who he was, not necessarily applying the provisions of the 1997 constitution. And I think that is why many times when fundamental rights and freedoms are abused, they relate it to the 1997 constitution, when it, in actual fact, that very constitution frowns upon some of those actions that the then ruling government was really doing. But again, the reality of our situation today is, why was the promulgation bill rejected? There are several issues, like Amba and GT. We are both talking about the retrospective application of the law. Now, if you're making a law, bear in mind of that political principle and the legal principle of making law. And I think Barrow in this situation cannot put more emphasis on the legality of issues in terms of the retrospective application of the law. He made a promise, and that is a moral principle now to fulfill. So there's nothing wrong in him accepting to serve 2 terms to set the benchmark, because he promised, apart from just promising 3 years and then step down, he also promised to bring in 2-term limit. Now, if you bring in 2-term limit, why would you go for a 3rd term? You're not setting a very good example. And that's the moral aspect of it. I think he could have done better by just serving 2 terms, agreeing to that, without even politicizing the whole process. And the whole process has been politicized now. As it stands, anything that you take before the National Assembly right now would not be viewed within the lenses of national interest, because everything has been polarized politically. And I think that is why, again, I believe delaying the reform agenda was catastrophic. That should have never been delayed. That is where we are right now. It is a conundrum. The reality is there are procedural choices that we need to follow now, which obviously can affect the legitimacy of the final outcome of the document and its content. And we must follow those procedural requirements. We cannot shortcut them at all. But I'll stop here for now, Fatou. You're on mute, Fatou.
Forget it. The problem that the Ahmed Jite and others are talking about, you just mentioned, that's the allowing President Barrow to have a 3rd term. But would it not, if that was one of the main reasons, was it not just, why would we not just leave that to Gambians to decide? Why would we let that drag this constitution to this point? Was it not necessary to edit that out? And then, was that not a possibility? Let the Gambians choose whether they want him to go on 3rd term or they don't want him to for even the 2nd term. Who knows what the Gambians are going to do?
Wow.
You want who was
question for me or for others?
You, because you talked about that, yeah.
Okay, so could you quickly repeat that, please? You mean why would Gambian, does it think
Yeah, you know, that time the president.
Can you me?
Yes, Nyangai, you wanted to. The reason why most, I think most parliamentarians, president side, can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, better. We can hear you. Stay there. The reason why a lot of parliamentarians from the president side did not vote for this bill is because they said the president is not allowing the president to that time, right? Why didn't we see the need to edit that out if that was the major obstacle for that side?
Well, like I said, Fatou, by all standards, there is a political principle, a legal principle, and a moral principle in this. We were talking about the New Gambia, and Barrow was going to deliver that New Gambia to us. And one of those promises was 2-term limit. So why would we, someone who even undertake a democratic obligation from the voters, promising that he's going to serve 3 years? Apparently he did not. We made a compromise by accepting constitutional supremacy. So by allowing Barrow to go for a 3rd term again, we are surrendering our political will, our rights to an individual again, which I think Gambia is bigger than Barrow, and Barrow should say that. That should be the bigger picture.
Thank you, Sadio. So Sadio, what did you think was the problem? Why did you think they rejected this bill? What was the problem? Sadio, can you hear me? Seems like Sadio's internet. Pata, welcome. Why are you
on mute?
Yeah, I just unmuted him. Welcome, Pata.
Thank you guys, man. How is everybody doing?
We're doing good. Pata, what's your reaction to what just happened at the National Assembly?
Just like a lot of us, Fatou, it is one of disappointment. Because one of the very variables, the tangibles that we were looking for in this change was to see what kind of laws we are going to have going into the Third Republic. That is, if we're ever going to have one. Even before we get here, when you look at can you guys hear me? I think I'm hearing an echo. Okay.
No.
When you look at the GOFA, what they were trying to do with all the amendments that they're trying to seek with the constitutional amendments, key among them were some of the laws that they think needed to be repealed. Ones that they talk about, they're thinking that we're not fair to society. We're not even in any way going to advance our progress as a country. Now, when you have a president or a government that comes in on the basis that they're going to accord us a new Gambia, that new Gambia is anchored on a new constitution that is going to be more progressive than what we have. I was never one of those who were always thinking that the 1997 constitution was bad. As a matter of fact, I did not even have a problem with their attempts or initially what they proposed to have piecemeal amendments. But what I was not envisaging was I did not think we were going to have a president who would actually come up with a project, because this is the president's project. It was this government's ambition to say the laws that we were having were kind of restricting. We did not have things that are going to advance the country. Let us have new ones that is going to get us a better Gambia. They agreed as a unit that to want to go in and amend a constitution that had already been amended more than 50 times, to go in there and want to have other piecemeal amendments, they thought that was not efficient. They all agreed, and then they came with the act that brought in the CRC, and we have the president and his executive publicly, because we saw the leakages from what they said the executive had a problem with, and coincidentally, we're having the same issues that they raised. The National Assembly members who are supporting the president on this issue have the same lines of argument. That could not have been coincidence. Now, I don't even want to focus on the amount of money that was spent on the draft constitution. If you look at it, some of their travels, the travel of the executive that we're seeing, not even including the National Assembly, in a quarter of a year, in the fourth quarter of the year, that actually eclipsed what we are seeing spent on this draft constitution. So that was not an issue. The issue was, these people were tasked to go and do a job. They went and consulted everybody around the country and outside the country. The notion that some people had projected something or they supported something that was not included in it is not an issue. And I was very disappointed to see the Attorney General agreeing with the minority leader to say they would have wanted to see statistics as to how many people wanted the term of the president to be included in that. Anywhere you see a bill going to the National Assembly, especially coming from the executive, everybody will expect that one has the total and absolute support of the executive. But in this case in here, we are having the executive sitting back, not supporting it, but they are pushing their lance corporals in the National Assembly to go and oppose this. Every single one of them who voted against this constitution have the same line of argument. The 23 of them that actually spoke in the National Assembly and voted against it, almost 15 of them always had one problem, which is the retrogressivity of the term of the president, which is actually very weird. Now, just like Yakumba argued in that assembly, if the president is submitting a bill in the National Assembly that is going to say, going forward, we are going to make sure we limited those who are coming to come into office. The president did not think that those coming after him would want to enjoy the same thing that he enjoyed, the same thing President Jammeh enjoyed, the President Sadauda enjoyed. So I am disappointed, but I am more disappointed in the executive because this is their project and they do not want to support it.
So Sadio, I had when the minister was responding to the questions, I kept on typing and I was restraining myself, and I'm thinking, is the minister making a case for the government, or is he just laying it bare for people? And so many times he kept saying, well, I'm just going to leave it for you guys. I mean, Bakamedi would have said, he would have put himself out there. But the minister, it seems like the minister was just, okay, I'm just here. That's my role to present it. Did you feel like the minister was really putting up a case for this draft to be passed? Sadio, are you hearing me? Hello, Sadio?
Thank you, Fatou. Yeah. I think I had the question. Well, I cannot hold brief for the minister, and then let me speak from a legal standpoint. Yeah. And then most of the questions that were asked, are in the gray area, and then
is it my end or the internet?
Depending on who the minister is, you could say, okay, the higher courts have not spoken on this specific issue, so I cannot give you a black and white answer, which is perfectly legal, and without taking a position or whatnot. Now, a question, for instance, if that has been asked, and then there's a definitive answer for that under our law, meaning either the statutes are clear on that, or the higher courts have actually ruled on that, as he makes reference in Usman Sabali's case, you are expected to give a direct answer. Now, it can be left to personal preference. For instance, if you are representing a government or organization, you could say, look, this is our position on a specific topic, and we think this is the interpretation in line with current laws. Whether that is right or wrong eventually will be determined by the courts themselves, our highest court. That's reasonable. Now, if people are asking, for instance, someone asks you about a specific question, I can't think of anything, that comes to mind when I looked at it. Ask him, what do you think of this thing? You could say, well, our position is this language with any other provision in the 97 right now as is, but the courts might say otherwise. That I can understand, meaning and that's your position. It doesn't mean the law is clear on that. You are just given a position because he cannot authoritatively speak on the law on that. And then to me, this is how I looked at it. I know like people speak about defect, for instance, pool in Gambia. Some of these things are not extraordinary. Gambia, everybody could agree, regardless of what side of the fence you sit on. Previously, we said the justices there, owed, bought, and paid for their soul, back in the days. You don't actually have a fair trial, whether that's true or not, but that's the perception in the community. Now we want to attract judges to sit on the bench. Now, the remuneration package, it doesn't say what salary they have to get. It only says their retirement is actually put in the constitution, even though it's not entrenched provision. The only thing is the threshold to change those things, even entrenched provisions. It's easier than if you want to repeal a statute. Maybe they are trying to make sure judges, their integrity is, maintained, and then they have probity in office. And then today I learned something that I wasn't even aware of that. You know, I think to me, it's very bad to say that if you sit on the bench and then you are out. So that's completely new to me. And then that could be maybe one of the incentives they want to make so they can attract, you know, our best to sit on the bench. If you are asking them a profession you have carried for your whole life, you have to forgo if you retire. Or what if you decided to leave the bench earlier? You serve 5 years and then you felt like family commitment, you cannot sit on the bench, you want to go into private practice. Now you are tainted, you're going to do that work, something you work for. So I think that's a, you know, a very good incentive. The questions become, do you put it in the constitution or in a state? I think those benefits are necessary and I expect them to be there. And then, but I think it's appropriate in the statute. That was my position, because I believe as economy and time change, inflation, subsequent parliaments could change those things. The budget, regarding how they control their own budget, that's Africa, that's the trend there. I'm not, you know, I have this over there. Maybe they have a reason putting it there, saying that how their budget get controlled to make sure there is efficiency. That's neither here nor there. But the contention I see from people, oh, how about judges get removed 2/3? It's a higher threshold. We want them to have lifetime appointment. We want them to have good tenure. But one thing I think, you know, people ought to make clear, because once we sit in the panel and then say something, like for instance, my brother Gita says, why would judges be removed on 2/3 and then you can impeach the president, just have the assembly members? Technically, he's right, but it's not actually accurate. That's not what the proposed draft says. What it says, in order to pass a resolution for impeachment of all the members of the National Assembly, you need half of those people to sign the resolution to support it. Once that resolution is supported, the Speaker must transmit that to the Chief Justice to panel a panel that would actually conduct the trial instead of the House doing the trial. If that panel sustains the allegations in the resolution, they would vote at the National Assembly to convict him. In that vote, you need 2/3 of the assembly to actually convict him and remove him from office. So equivalently, the impeached and then convicted at the same threshold like judges. So I think, how to call it, it is very important in terms of that. I think it's very, very important if we are making statement to the general public for them to know exactly this. One, half the people, you can impeach the president. It says you can pass the resolution. That's the threshold you need. And once you have the threshold and then the panel sustain those charges, you need 2/3 of the National Assembly to convict him. Now also, and then I know my Walker mentioned about retroactive people. The Constitution itself is not saying this Constitution is retroactive. People have to, you know, understand the difference here. This draft includes ex post facto laws. It has bill of attendance, meaning legislations could not go retroactively. And then even in the 97 Constitution itself, what people have to understand, because right now there is no coup d'etat in Gambia. We have a 97 Constitution. Meaning if we are amending it or we want to repeal it, it must be in compliance with that 97 document to make sure it doesn't frown upon it. And then Section 100 subpart C says, legislature have the power to make retroactive laws, meaning they can make statutes or acts that will be retroactive, subjected to that exemption they put there in subsection C, meaning vested rights should not be, you know, retroactive. And I understand that. Even me, I publicly campaign it, regardless of where you sit on the aisle. When I saw that retroactive application, if you looked at the schedule, this draft constitution, if passed, says it will come into effect while the president is in term right now. And then because of that, they are saying his current terms should actually count towards the 2 term, because it's coming right away while he's in office. In as much as that might be the agreement of the Gambian people, to me, when I look at it from a legal standpoint, you have to be neutral. In my interpretation, I say that will actually offend the 97 Constitution, because this right has already been accrued. It is vested. And then the reason I said forward, there was no precedent in Gambia, but I looked at similar constitutions, even in the US, states constitution, where they want to make those changes, and then courts actually throw it out because those rights were vested. And I would agree we should go prospectively. But even if that's the argument for someone that is in the know, you could change that at the committee stage. Or if the president wants, you may agree with his position or not, but he can file a suit at the court to challenge it. Those remedies are there. It will be expensive. It may further divide the country, but at least those rights are still in the Constitution. That's what it's perfect, but I think this draft, it's very, very progressive. And even the marriage provision, people are saying, the provision in 1997, in fact, I was surprised people don't challenge it when those homosexuality acts come in. To me, reading of the 97 Constitution, in fact, that provision is more gay-friendly than any provision you can think of. That is actually listed in the Universal Declaration, Article 16, if you look at it. A man and a woman of full age and capacity have the right to marry. It's only saying who can marry. It doesn't say whom you have to marry. And then if you look at the commentary on that declaration, Article 16, it actually says how they support, why they, write it that way, the legislative intent behind that. It shows you can marry anyone. And then if you look at subpart 2, it says spouses, it uses those things. So the draft constitution, when it first came out, without the continuation of the language, to me, I know that was highly suspect. But even with a generous reading, the subsequent language that was added on it, and the parties of where they further went the full age and then the consent will be the man and then the woman. To me, that's where I say, if you want to be a little bit conservative, you could say, okay, this definite article actually qualifies the initial subject. Maybe they are referring to that specific marriage to be between a man and a woman. But if the sentence was a man and a woman of full age and capacity have the right to form a family, period, full stop, you could reasonably argue, and in fact, that's the most reasonable argument, that any person, a man and a woman, because in law, you looked at those singular qualifiers. So that's what people have to understand. That's how I looked at it. But the draft doesn't say the entire constitution is going retroactive. It is against that. It has its factors law. So people have to understand. And even in constitutional law, constitutional decisions, they go retroactively. Legislations are the ones that should go prospectively. That is the general rule. And even with that, there are many exceptions. If you look at you could cite case laws from common law jurisdictions from England all the way to Australia, you come to the US, from here to Gambia, you could start case laws that would actually support those propositions. So I think there's a lot of nuances. It would be difficult. We can argue whether this is the product of Gambia. I agree with that, or whether it's not the product of the Gambia. And then to what Mr. Tamba retaliated, saying that the party APRC felt left out. To me, I haven't actually looked into that. I understand his argument, and then coming from where we came from, if you're in the party and then you want to be reasonable, you could feel agitated. If I'm in the APRC camp, for instance, 97 Constitution, regardless of where we stand, those immunities and indemnities to APRC members was the consent of the people because it has been passed. For instance, if you just want to look at it from the legal standpoint, now if a new constitution is being promulgated, the question would become, how do I get protected? I want to know what you want to do for me. Like, is my interest in program? I understand that that's a very, very legitimate argument. But for the CRC committee itself, I don't expect that we should bring people just as a fair representative. We need experts on that. But in terms of consultation, I expect them to consult every camp. And I'm thinking they have done that. I stand to be corrected. So that I can understand.
They have.
Well, this 97 Constitution protect my rights, and those are vested. Do we undo them retroactively or not? That's a question the courts have to decide. And then just going by the plain language of 100C, you would have a pretty good estimate on that. We can argue on that, but to throw the draft out as it's not a good document, to me, I'm not going to believe that. I don't think so.
All right. So, and one thing I also wanted, throwing the draft out at this stage, would it not be just fair for NAMS to pass it to the next stage, to have the opportunity to amend? If at that point their concerns have not been addressed, they would have given them another opportunity to say, well, we gave you an opportunity and they didn't capture our concerns. But it only shows that this is political. There is no way we can take that away from this. It's political. APRC wants to cement their legacy. They want to protect this thing that they believe is there. And the president's camp thinks, we don't want this for the president. We're protecting it. This is how it shows. Is this any way any of you feel? That's my feeling. Is that anyhow a feeling that any of you share? Why do you think it was rejected at this stage? Yes, Lami.
Well, the protection of the, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. So for the APRC, protecting the legacy is one, but it's not the one and only reason why we rejected it. I've mentioned a few other reasons. Now, from the beginning, like I said to you, if you want,
Lamin, can I come in? If there were other reasons, if at least you would have waited until committee stage. If those concerns are not captured after amendments, would that not be the reason? At that point, you would have said, you know, now I'm going to reject because my concerns or some of the concerns that we have raised have not been captured or not amended.
well, it's true they could have waited to go all the way, and Parliament, in my view, had the authority to amend some of these things that were causing a lot of concern in the APRC camp. They could have amended them by the third stage, and they could have voted yes and sent it to the public. Now, the MPs who voted no, I spoke to a lot of them, and I spoke to all the APRC MPs, and the reason they gave was, you know that Mandinka proverb, yeah? Niso membe fala sawa manjariya bino sumang, yeah? If the constitution, the draft is going to die anyway at the referendum stage, what's the point in drawing out its suffering life? There are so many fundamentals, and our MPs and the electorate are saying, even yesterday in radio stations in the Gambia, I was sent audio saying people suspect there's a same-sex agenda with this constitution. And the fundamental is the madrasas, the ustads is the mosques, and many people want to vote against it based on that. Because the EU ambassador came at the wrong time and said Gambians must accept same-sex relationships. You remember that hoo-ha when it happened? So that basically brought Barrow government into
Well, I mean, that's not what he said.
Yeah, it brought Barrow government into disrepute, and people had a lot of suspicions with this draft, and it left a lot of things open. Some MPs even highlighted the fact that it said, like Mr. Barrow said, there's an open door for same-sex relationship in both the 1997 Constitution and the draft. And MPs highlighted the danger of leaving it and saying both men and women can marry. But it didn't say who they can marry, and didn't outrightly state that marriage is between a man and a woman only. You understand? So MPs raised those questions. And when the Minister of Justice came, you have to understand that the Minister of Justice is a political appointee. He's going to represent what his government wants in Parliament. He's not going to come and go against his government's interest. And clearly, the cabinet didn't fancy the draft. So he came and didn't defend a lot of provisions that were there. I think you could have given a more robust defense of the draft. He didn't, because his government's advice, the line they told, was go in there because we don't want the draft because it's curtailing Barrow's terms. Now, Suleiman Boka touched on Barrow's morality issues. There are loads, because for all of Jammeh's problems, he did say the transition was 4 years, and people complained he cut it down to 2 years. And when 2 years came, he didn't push it. He left it there. After 2 years, he went to elections with no problems. Even if Barrow wanted to extend his stay, after 3 years, he should have called an election and stood anyway. You understand? That would mean he still broke his promise, but at least he stuck to that transition period. So Suleiman Boka touched on the morality of law. Most of the law is derived from morality anyway, which is the practices of the common practices of a people of a certain area, which brings the legality. Legally, he can go for 2 or 3 times as long as the Constitution allows him. Morally, it's wrong to tell your electorate, your partners, your sponsors, and everyone that you're just going to go for 3 years and supervise an election and you've gone back to your real estate business. It's wrong. But legally, there's nothing stopping him going for 50 years if the Constitution doesn't stop him. You understand? It will be down to Gambian people to say, look, Barrow, you've been terrible in your first term. We cannot trust you. We can't do that, like the APRC spokesman said. We're going to vote you out in 2021. So the draft should have been defended better by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. He didn't. So APRC, we want to protect our legacy, but there's a lot of things wrong. We felt we were not included in New Gambia at all, at any stage. Yes, they did consult our party, but the recommendations that our party gave them, they didn't implement most of them. And in fact, some of the retroactive clauses in that constitution will go against the interest of the APRC party. If Barrow was a wise politician, he would have listened to Halifa Sallah. You remember in 2017 when Halifa Sallah said, Jammeh and us agreed on this so that he can leave, and today we've averted war. Now you're jumping on his property, you're jumping on his supporters, and they wanted to kill Halifa Sallah. In fact, the police promised to give him security. But Sallah being Sallah said, no, I don't want any security. I'll be fine. You understand? So Jammeh left because there's a joint communique which should have been observed. And because these people wanted to eat anyway, they're corrupt. They wanted a slice of the national cake. They wanted to eat. And Batambidu was more than willing to serve his friends, his family, with loads of government money. He gave private prosecution, state prosecution cases to private law firms where his brother works. He dished out loads of money to the Commission of Inquiry, and Jammeh's properties and government properties were shared amongst people who are connected with the Commission of Inquiry. He dished out 166 million to his friends in the CRC. He's dishing out loads of money to his friends in the TRC. And now, when they had come in, if Barrow was smart and his people were smart and they listened to Halifa Sallah, Barrow came in with only 43% of the vote. So he should have known he already had his back against the wall from day one. 57% didn't vote for him. What he should have done is wrap his arm around the APRC, which is the biggest force outside of the government. He didn't. They ignored APRC, they antagonized us, they attacked us, they jailed us, they tortured us, they did every single thing. And when they wanted us the most to come with them, to push the Gambia agenda forward, we said, now you want the APRC. Now you want to embrace us. Just at an hour of need. Yes.
So you're just telling me APRC is not interested in pushing the Gambian agenda? You just said now they needed us to push the Gambian agenda. We said no. That is a very serious statement.
No, we have always maintained APRC is a nationalist party, and you know that. We love Gambia more than anyone. We fight for Gambians more than anyone. We empower Gambian youth, especially, and women, more than anyone. Nobody loves the Gambia more than APRC, and all the other party leaders agree that the head of the APRC, Jammeh, is more patriotic than anyone you can find. When it comes to destabilizing Gambia, he will crush you just to protect Gambian people. That's how he was. So we wanted to move Gambia, but New Gambia said no. No APRC. Look at the constitution of the Commission of Inquiry. No APRC-leaning people. TRC, no APRC-leaning people. CRC, no APRC-leaning people. As of yesterday, we were being insulted, saying we're not Gambians. We're this. I'm a second-class citizen. I'm happy. I'm talking to you guys from Casamas right now because that's where they deported me to, right? So if you want to build a nation, politics is about give and take, compromise, like Nyang Jai said. You have to wrap your arms around people at the right time. You have to fight at the right time. You need to pick and choose your fights. You need to time your fights. You need to know who your enemies are at what point. Gambia cannot go forward without APRC, and Barrow should have known that the biggest force out of the coalition was APRC. You can't run a country when you have your back against the wall, when you're running against the majority. A classic example is Banjul with Rohim Malik Low, 24% of the vote. She's got all the good ideas for Banjul, but the majority are against her, and she's struggling to make a footprint. And this is where Gambia is today. You have the biggest forces against the government, and the government has refused to include them, to wrap their arms around them, and now they need them in this 11th hour. They're saying, oh, we want APRC to support this draft. APRC wants to support it. If it was a very good draft, we'll support it. But I said to you, there were 11 fatal flaws, and our love of Gambia will not allow inequality, illegality, discrimination. We will not accept that at any stage in Gambia's life now and in the future. And if they want Gambia to go forward with us, they need to be fair to all communities across the country. And that's my point.
Suleiman, before I let Fatou come in, Suleiman, so is Halifa Sallah right? We should have amended the 97 Constitution. He said this from the taxpayers 116 million. Is he right?
Well, absolutely, Fatou. Whenever Halifa speaks, he speaks for a reason.
Why am I not hearing Saul?
He understands.
You're not hearing Saul?
You're not hearing me, Pat.
You're not hearing Saul? Can you hear him?
Okay.
No, I am not. I don't know if
Pat
Lamin
is
is, but I am not.
I can hear you.
We cannot hear him. Why are you not hearing him? Can you drop and come back?
If both of you are hearing him, I'm not. Maybe the problem is with me. But I was hearing.
I'll remove you and add you. Are you hearing him now?
How is it now?
Okay.
Yeah. I think I heard him. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me now, Pata. Right. Okay. Like what I was saying is, whenever Khalifa speaks, he speaks for a reason, and he understands the dynamics of Gambian politics very well. He knew that the longer it takes to bring in the reform agendas, the more it would be difficult to undertake the reforms that we have promised to the electorates. So in a sense, amending the 1987 Constitution, all the clauses that need amendment were highlighted. And then for a new start, then when we go back to multi-party contest after the transition, whoever wants to, or any other party wants to introduce a new constitution, well, that is for you, between you and the Gambian people. But the coalition reform agenda should have really been delivered. Now here we are in a situation. The public consultation has been done. The process was very participatory, although Lamin Tamba has his own genuine reservations about it. No one should disagree with him on that. Initial writing and a review process has been done. It got to a promulgation stage where the biggest blow to the new draft was made, which is today. So now, what next? That is the fundamental question.
What next?
The likelihood is that elections, 2021 elections would be held under the 1997 Constitution.
Wow.
Except if they have to quickly reintroduce a new draft and a promulgation bill, which has some procedural issues. It's not going to be as simple as quick as that, because the CRC has a mandate and it has a timeline. So all those issues needs to be reviewed. So, but from what I can see now, elections are likely going to be held under the 1997 Constitution. And which is really very disappointing. That is what not the Gambians don't deserve at all. That was not promised to Gambians at all. And I think Barrow himself should not be happy about this, regardless of whatever advantages he may get from the 1997 Constitution. It is not something to celebrate. It is a delay in our democratization process. And unless and until collectively we Gambians start to see things, I know Pata always have a problem when we say the national interest, because for him, he always has some juxtapositions to whatever the national interest would mean, different things, different people. But here what I mean is the partisan ambitions or the partisan interests needs to be leveled down until we have the right laws in place and the right system in place. Then we can really contest based on merit. I think that is the way forward.
But I saw a lot of people call this the UDP Constitution. I saw a lot of that out there. And because this thing has been politicized, and also will your party take this as a failure on their part, considering that a lot of your folks, the Solo Sandings, and all those people, your party leader himself, Solo Sanding went out demanding for electoral reforms. And that's what he wanted. And that was the catalyst of this change. And a lot of us believe that. And that's why people believe UDP should be one of those parties that's to champion this transition, to move it forward, to make sure we have a new constitution, to be able to say, yes, these people died, but at least some of the things that they fought for were able to achieve. What does that feel for your party today? And necessarily, it seems like it's a failure on your part that we don't have a new constitution.
Well, it is not a failure on the UDP part because it is not a UDP project. But there is one thing that you said which is very true. That is, of the people who died, for example, like Solo Sanding, or even Fatma Jawara, who had gone through most horrific things in the hands of the government, the day that they went out, the document that they were having in their hands were the demands of the Gambian opposition for electoral reform at the time, which does include everybody, all of the political parties at the time were part of the GOFA. Now, if you look at it, even before to what led to the protest that Solo Sanding led, there were times that the political parties were trying to engage, and even at some point they were engaging Reverend Jesse Jackson so they can come, and even ECOWAS or whatever, so they can talk to the president and see if there can be some reforms. Every single one of the 11 points that were included in that electoral reform demands were targeted and included in the constitution, in the draft constitution. And every single one of the opposition at the time endorsed and supported those positions. So there wasn't anything specific that is supporting that is favoring the UDP in here. Now, when you look at the 1997 constitution, and I heard people talking about, oh, this favors the UDP. I do not know specifically what about this favors the UDP, because some people talking about, oh, Mr. Dabo was disqualified. No, if you look at the pardon, and the Attorney General even said it in this place. Anywhere there's a presidential pardon is just like when you are washed of your sins. The only thing that could have actually impeded Mr. Dabo would have been his conviction. But the conviction was that at the time you have to be holding a public office. So even if Mr. Dabo was not pardoned and he was released from prison, he would not have been barred because Mr. Dabo was not a holder of a public office at the time of his conviction. So I don't understand what people are talking about. I did not see anything specific. I think when the coalition came out, UDP were an integral part of the coalition. And even before they fell out with President Barrow, the party was supporting everything that was on the lines of the coalition agenda as far as the TRC was concerned, the Constitutional Review was concerned, these various commissions. President Barrow was campaigning and telling people that 3 years was not enough because they had started projects that needed to finish.
Yeah.
Key among those was this the Constitutional Review Commission and other civil service reforms. But until this day, 4 years into his reign, you cannot look at a single thing that you can say this was accomplished and completed. Everything is in progress. Now, we've seen the Ghana Commission. The recommendations of that commission, they were not able to enforce them. We are having the TRC that is in the air, and nobody knows what is going to happen. We have the Constitutional Review Commission that is killed in Parliament before it makes its way to the people. So the president cannot come and forward anything to say, this is what I have done so far. Now, there was a part that Suleiman Ba said, which was Khalifa's suggestion that they go ahead with the amendment. Granted, if they had gone with those, people need to understand whatever the ambition was, there were always going to be issues that the National Assembly were going to have an issue with. There were issues at the time that the parties were still going to have an issue with. Now let's even say, we say 1 year to the election, let's even say they said, well, in 3 to 6 months, we can still amend the 1997 Constitution. There is going to be key elements of that amendment that a lot of these people are going to go against. And let's even say this did not pass and we have the next government comes in. And that government too, people wanted to say, you know what, we want this time to count again. That government too can answer, no. Last time we had a problem to say that the president's time cannot count. It is going to be retroactive. So moving forward, we have to go and make it 2 months from excluding this one. So basically, we're going to be going in circles in this issue. This is not going to pass. The sad part or the disappointing thing is, President Barrow came in for 3 years. He argued that legitimately he had 5 years. He got his 5 years, right? And before that, what he was saying was our intention, our goal is that nobody should be able to come in this country and be able to reign for more than 2 terms. It does not matter what the Constitution says. Now, all this is kind of like a moral argument, but we cannot put moral arguments to the side when this thing is concerned. So it is crazy. As far as I'm concerned, I am very, very happy with all the NAMs that supported it, the UDP NAMs, the PDIS NAMs, and any other person who supported it. I applaud them. They have done their part. The CRC had done their part. It is very silly to think that the CRIC was going to incorporate all the suggestions that they came to. As far as I know, I am aware that UDP presented 80 suggestions, 80, of which not all of them were accepted. 80 of them. So it is not a UDP thing. But if this is what people want, I don't know what President Barrow is thinking. And I don't know why people are celebrating. But if we go by the political terrain now, to go by a simple majority, if UDP were selfish, they could have supported, they could have gone against this, knowing that simple majority is what is going to be in their favor. Anybody who is not biased, and you've seen this, you will know that if any party is celebrating here, it will be the UDP.
Well, Pata, are you sure about that? Suleiman, that's what I was going to say. Who does this benefit though? Now we have to go to election with the simple majority. Who does this benefit? This is the big question.
So Fatma, in that part, before Suleiman comes in, let me settle that part. Let me give my part just so
I have to quickly intervene on that before I forgot. I have to quickly intervene.
Anywhere on earth, when people are talking about elections, they look at the projections.
And what is the projection?
If there is any party that has the slightest chance of making any impact and of forming a government right now, besides the UDP, they will be thinking that they can coalesce with other parties and get themselves in office. What we have to look at now is the statistics that are available to us, right? Now, whether we talk about the statistics coming from 1996 elections up to 2016, the most recent statistics shows that every trajectory is going towards the UDP. We all know that. So if that's what the political parties want to argue, let's go for it. Let's give it a shot. Well, you can talk about the APRC. There is a reason the APRC were not even able to put up candidates in all 53 constituencies in the last election. For a party. I'm coming. For a party that won more than 70% of the elections 5 years prior. It came to the National Assembly election, even their candidates who were winning elections in other places were withdrawing. Right now, the APRC has phony on their part in pockets of Western region. They are done.
Okay, I think we are...
The only party anybody can give a little bit of thing to will be President Barrow, because we're thinking that as incumbent, he's going to enjoy some other... But President Barrow has not done anything that anybody can look at to say that President Barrow had made a headway to be able to get more than 50, a majority of the votes in that country. It's not possible.
All right. Let me tell you one thing. Why you guys need to be very careful about President Barrow.
Yep.
He has a very distinct character, and that is, we always have to consider the winning factors in the Gambia. And the winning factors are ethnicity, incumbency, regionalism. These are all factors that interplay. And Barrow's party has this unique character of
we need to be careful. The PDI is doing it, but we need to be careful.
I'm coming back. I'll get to that, and I'll show you why I'm really optimistic about the PDIs.
Okay.
And to an extent, Barrow shares these characteristics with the PDIs because Barrow can attract voters from the Wolofs, from the Mandinkas, from the Sarahules,
from the Fulas.
And now, we know that there are certain parties, their biggest support is coming from a single ethnicity. There are certain parties, they're there. And here comes the case of Doi. It's also its ability to attract voters from diverse ethnic groups. And this is where the magic could happen for Doi, simply because they have realized that, the Gambian people have realized that most of these parties are not trustworthy anymore.
Yeah.
And one of those parties is your party, the UDP party. But again, coming back to your projection, which I believe is an illusion. Before 2016, what was your highest score? 17% or 18%? And 2016, yes, you've won a lot of seats, parliamentary seats, local government seats, but there was a factor there, and the most influential factor for you people there was the incumbency. It was so blatant. The bias was so blatant. And we know the incumbents influence voting pattern very well in the Gambia, particularly on the side of the winner.
Yeah.
If the UDP prior to 2016 have really scored what they got in 1996, which is about 35 or 32%, then I will tell you that the UDP is good to go. But as it stands now, the UDP is even disadvantaged because of Barrow's faction from the UDP.
Yeah.
What we are seeing in cyberspace and on the media is as a result of calculated propaganda, which the UDP is very good at.
Yeah.
But time will tell, and I will tell you that UDP is not the party that would claim or would think that they are or really, would be really favored under the current circumstances.
Are we underestimating President Barrow? Are we underestimating President Barrow?
No.
Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers today from the private bill.
Yeah.
From the private bill, we have seen more people leaning towards his camp, and also this bill. Also, what is this teaching us? What is it telling us? The incumbency part, but also that President Barrow is doing a lot of groundwork, and a lot of people are looking at him and saying he's not a political. But he did tell us. What did he say? What did he say? Political animal.
Animal.
Political animal. And I think it's beginning to manifest itself right now. Everything that he is pushing is going his direction right now.
Yeah. So let me knock this stuffing out of Potter's head, because he's basically using statistics that don't exist. The only statistics that UDP excelled on right now are National Assembly elections and local government elections.
Yeah.
They have no statistics in their favor when it comes to presidential elections. I'll give him the Badibu scenario. When it came to National Assembly elections, they voted for Dr. Saho. When it came to presidential elections, they voted for Sirif Mustafa Adiba. So right now, if you're looking at presidential elections, you need to go back to 2011, because 2016 is not a good reflection. It's 4 parties came together and got 43% against 39% APRC. Yes, some of our opportunist APRC members have moved camps. UDP have taken some, Barrow has taken some, Doi has taken some. There's a large chunk of our support that's departed. Funnily, these people are now returning to the APRC because the reality has dawned on them. But let's start from the top. UDP in 2011 had 17% of the vote. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt to think that in 2016 they had 43%. And that's because of Barrow winning now, right? Barrow was the factor now. Barrow was the incumbent, 43%. So Barrow has gone his separate way. He's cut UDP into 2. And this is a fact, because UDP went to Badibu. They are strong land. They couldn't fill a small venue. They had to take photos from Kampala and photos of them to make it look like they filled the venue in Badibu. All right? And every time they get somebody join UDP, somebody's joined UDP. It's a strong characteristic of a small party when they make noise to make people notice them, that somebody has joined. So Barrow has cut that 43% into 2, making it what? It's made it 21 point something. You take Doi's 5% or 10% out of it, because arguably Doi funded the coalition. Doi made the coalition what it was. You take Doi factor out of the 43%, the 10% is gone. All right? You take other parties out of that 43%. Barrow, let's say Doi is taking 5%, to be generous to Barrow and UDP. Let's say Doi is gone with 5%. They've got 38% left. If you divide 38% into 2, that's 19% UDP will have right now. And if you're using the local government or National Assembly statistics, Mr. Patapige, you have APRC fighting with no tools. You tied our hands behind our back. You took our vehicles. You froze our accounts. You made sure we had no fighting chance at the polls. That election was not free and fair. You know that. And despite the fact that we put up fewer candidates, we still managed to get 5 MPs through. And this is not Fonyi alone. Look at the local government election. We had an independent in West Coast region who polled 6,000 of the vote, and that independent is APRC 100%. And we had an APRC candidate who polled 24,000 votes. If you add those two, that's 30,000 votes, right? Now look at KMC. Despite the split from some of our voters, because a lot of them voted for Bakari Baji, Rambo still pulled. And when Rambo was winning, UDP attacked Fabakary Tombong Jatta's house. And suddenly the results changed. You understand? Barrow has cut you into two. Your strong heartland in Kiang. Bibi that was there, the Kiang god. He's gonna take that vote. Yeah? You have no chance in Kiang going forward. This is why people call it a UDP constitution, because UDP wanted to go to the second round, because that way they can use regionalism, ethnicity to get people like Bibi Dabo, people like other people to join in and support the UDP. But first past the post, UDP will have no chance, because Kiang will go to the Kiang god. Fonyi, they have got no chance. Combo, they got no chance because APS is pulling them out in the combos. APS is pulling them out in KMC. And even in Banjul, they're a minority. They only won 24%. If you go to URR, it's GDC and Barrow slugging it out. If you go to CRR out north, it will be APRC and GDC slugging it out. If you go CRR south, it's GDC and UDP slugging it out. North Bank region, we're just about to flex our muscles there. So you got to be careful, but I'll go back to the top. If the elections were held next year, no matter how many parties you get together, and Jammeh is on that ticket, he'll trump them down, because people have now seen a Gambia under Jammeh and a Gambia under Barrow. And arguably, a Gambia under Jammeh didn't have 3 pieces of fish for $500. A Gambia under Jammeh didn't have people burgling your house in broad daylight, putting a knife to your throat and telling you to give them your flat screen TV, your mobile phone, your everything.
Whoa. The TRC says something different. Don't do that.
Fatou, I'm going to take a leave now. We have now get into the politics.
We didn't lose our sovereignty. So you now, APRC's rebound is coming back now with full force. You watch how we go. You watch how we move. You watch how we do this groundwork. And next year you will be stunned. UDP has been disabled by Barrow completely. You understand? Look at your MPs. You come from 31 plus 5 nominees who are leaning towards UDP who've now gone against you. Your MP share in parliament has gone down to 18. Totally decimated. Your parliament, you saw it when the Senate supplementary appropriation bill was being made and the state of emergency, UDP lost to 23 only. And now you've gone down to arguably about 18 strong UDP. The rest are outside UDP or in Barrow's camp. Your party has got absolutely no chance of winning it straight first past the post. And if we went to coalition, you know nobody, if we went 50%, you know nobody's going to make a coalition with UDP again. You know that. Right?
So let's get him to respond. Pata
has been battered today. Come on, Pata. Come on.
See, Lamin started from the top a few times. I don't know which one actually is the toughest of them all, but it's okay. So far, the danger we're seeing in here, or what people have always been seeing is, and now you can understand why even my good old friend Suleiman Bokarba, in some of his posts, you can see that he leaned towards this bill being rejected. He even started. Okay, I heard you. He even have to come with some conspiracies. Now, who is to blame? Let's start this. When we talk about the 3 years, they said this. When we said this, they said this. I'm like, okay, here is something fundamental that we cannot miss, Fatou. One, this draft constitution, those who are for it are not against it, or for it or against it, they can take their positions. But what we are seeing from the engagement I'm seeing from Lamin and Sol, if it represents the position of their parties, we are definitely seeing that Adama Barrow is not their problem, but UDP is. If I were a political party today, like Lamin did, I probably would have been putting forward to say why I think the APRC would have won. But what Sol did in here, he did not even factor in his party. What he had done is to see how Adama is going to decimate at UDP and how UDP are going to be losing votes. Let's put it that way. Well, there is one argument that is totally so very flawed, which is to say, over the years, the UDP numbers were going up, and so for that means it's supposed to go that way. The rest of the parties are going up and UDP are going down. There is no number, or even numbers aside, there is no indication to support that. But this is the issue, Fatou. Gambians generally wanted. We don't want a point where we will have a president coming in with the mandate of less than 50% of the people, half of the people, like we had seen at the coalition, right? Adama Barrow did not win 50% of the vote. In other parts of the world, there are places where you have simple majority. In the United States, in here, they have the popular vote, but the electoral vote is what counts, right? But they consider it to be democratic. There are places in Nigeria, for example, you have to win certain percentage of votes in certain counties or certain regions for you to win. So this whole point of like second round 50%, it's not static, or it's not biblical. But the whole point is people want to be able to have a leader that has the mandate of more than half the population. Now we are missing that opportunity. We're going to go to second round. What we're thinking now, there were parties that came up, smaller parties. Their intention was, or their aim was, we're going to be able to put our programs out there. If people did not vote for us and we go to second round, we're going to support a party that aligns with it a little bit. So at least whoever is going to win, we can give them the opportunity to have the support of majority of people. Those political parties who know that they are not going to have more than 2%, 5%, I don't know why they're going to put up their candidates, because they might not even recoup their deposit. So in that case, those will be forced to align with other parties for abandon. So that means the theory that Sol and Lamin Tamba are projecting to say perhaps the Mandinkas are going to vote for UDP, or regions are going to vote for UDP that are dominated by Mandinkas will be moot. Nobody's going to talk about that. Bibi Dabo is a government just like anybody else. There are Mandinkas in Fonyi, there are Fulas in Fonyi, who are even Jolas in Fonyi, who are voting for APRC. So this whole function of like there are certain ethnic dominated areas that voted for the UDP. How do you put it in an equation when you put the places like the Serakundas in the equation, where you have candidates that are not Mandinka and they're pulling well in those areas? So it's neither here nor here, and I don't think the conversation should be going towards that. Okay. What we are looking at right now should be the benefits or the downside of having to not go with this new draft constitution. What we are looking at, we can project, and everybody can say my party is going to win. But what we're seeing here right now, if you ask me, I think if there is any party in here who is going to be clapping and say, whatever, either way we do not lose, will have to be the UDP. There is no doubt that the simple majority favors them. But I applaud them for the fact that they support the position of the majority of this country, who actually thought that the best way we can do is to have a new constitution that is going to advance us forward.
Okay. Quickly, whoever wants to rule out these factors in Gambian politics, you are really, really living on a different planet. Ethnicity, incumbency, regionalism. If you want to rule these factors out as determinants in Gambian politics, you are living on a different planet. We know the strength of each party, and we know why they have the type of strength. But like you said, that shouldn't be something that we need to debate about right now, okay? You kind of associate me to the rejection of the draft constitution, which you think that, for me, I'm cool and dandy with it. But in reality, no. If I were having the intention to go back and contest, this rejection have just ruled it out. So I'm not happy with it. I'm just giving you an example. But again, you look at the DOI MPs, all of them voted yes, except Sidia, who was outside the building when the voting started, and your venomous speaker, she came from the UDP. Instead of alerting the whole house for the voting to go normally, no, she rushed everything. But in reality, I would say that based on the voting pattern, DOI as a party has supported for the promulgation bill to be passed. Yeah. Now, coming back to the politics of it, sometimes we don't pay attention to details, and I don't need to disclose all that. And I didn't know that. I thought that we were just going to address the procedural issues of the promulgation bill and its substance part. If I had known that we will get into the politics of it, I would have pulled out all the data. Now, you would be surprised that in the National Assembly elections, DOI, of the total votes cast, DOI came out second. If that was a presidential election, wouldn't you say that DOI came out second? And that's the reality. The data is there. So for us, we believe that we are on the right track and we'll be there. Just underestimate us.
So what does this mean for the transitional process, the TRRC? I know the Commission of Inquiry, the recommendations were made. People are challenging it in courts. So what does this mean? What would it mean for the outcome of the TRRC? I know there were immunities where, like Yankuba Toure cases, where people quoted having immunity. What does this mean? I am not a legal person and I have no idea. What does this mean for our transitional process?
Before I quickly leave you, if I want to comment on that quickly, because I need to go. The TRRC is mandated to investigate human rights violations. Now, whether immunity is being provided for under the 1997 Constitution or not, there are certain crimes. They are not just subject to domestic or national law, but they are subject to international law. Now, whether the scale of those crimes have reached the threshold of things like maybe crimes against humanity is for the TRRC to prove that. So that in effect should not affect the TRRC in any case. That is my view of the whole thing.
Lamin?
All transition process is a fail. And I can start from the fact that first and foremost, they came as a coalition.
Did you just say fail?
Yeah, it's a total fail because let me list the failures for you. And these are the prominent ones. They listed about 14. Is it 14 points of the Memorandum of Understanding that the coalition had? Now, prominent among them was the 3-year transition. It didn't happen. The 3 years was breached by the president, deliberately, aided by Dabo. He said 5 years or he'll take you to court. Okay? Now, 3-4 months into the coalition government, going into National Assembly elections, they were supposed to have coalition MPs. Again, Dabo threw the spanner in the works. Arguably, not just Dabo, Amadba, and Mai Fati threw the spanner in the works. They damaged the coalition with the Farcical Alliance. All right? So point 2.
You said farcical. That's creative. That's very creative.
Yeah.
That's really creative. I like that.
So they came up with the Farcical Alliance and ruined the coalition. Third point is they wanted a commission of inquiry set. They used people who were involved in the Jammeh government, like Ami Bensouda, to investigate herself and Jammeh. And you saw how many times her name popped up in everything that Jammeh did legally at Gamtel, at Social Security, and she apparently had Jammeh's power of attorney, which legally means she can carry out transactions on behalf of Jammeh without Jammeh having to sit down and say, yeah, I authorize you to do this. All right? So you can't, in any legal foundation, the principles are conflict of interest must be avoided. Those are the civil procedure rules. You cannot break them. No court is going to take the findings of the Commission of Inquiry, Jammeh Commission, seriously, because it's been littered with conflict of interest. You had enablers investigating themselves.
But then, can I come in here?
Yeah,
people will tell you, this commission, if one thing has been able to put light on Jammeh, as we speak today, the U.S. have sanctioned President Jammeh just last week, his wife also. And I think if anybody, the government biggest goal would be that. You tell me the commission has failed. That if they were looking at the bigger fish they were looking at, it seems like, something had happened from that angle.
Yeah, something has happened from that angle illegally because the U.S. only acts on the advice they get from Gambia government. In the 1997 Constitution, there are entrenched immunity clauses which stated that the junta must not be investigated by any law court, any establishment in the Gambia. Okay? And after October 1996, between October 1996 to the day Jammeh flew out, he had further immunity clauses. So the Commission of Inquiry can be set, it's not illegal, but it didn't have to look at 1994 to 1996. And after 1996, it can look at everyone else except Jammeh, because Jammeh still had immunity as a president. Ironically, that's the immunity Barrow is enjoying today. The TRRC has been set it can also look at everyone else except 1994 to 1996. All right. And then after 1996, Jammeh has further immunities. Suleiman Bokar mentioned some provisions of law that can be looked at by international courts. But International Criminal Court said nothing happened under Jammeh that met their threshold to be able to investigate Jammeh. So at that point, we needed to look at our national laws, yeah, or local laws, whatever you call them. But we're seeing the white man who hunts for black dictators, Reed Brody, who's leaving Trump to go and chase Jammeh. He only chases after black people, yeah? So we're back to the slavery days. He said, and the president of the Gambia Bar Association, last week they came out and said, look, under Gambia's existing laws, there's no way we're going to be able to prosecute Jammeh. One, because of the immunity clause, and I'm glad they mentioned the immunity clauses. And number two is because there's no local laws to take Jammeh on. So Yankuba Ture, they charge him for murder. Murder and genocide sometimes are not covered by immunity clauses. But are you genuinely going to sit here and think Jammeh actually got up and went and physically killed somebody? Because that's what murder is. You have to be the principal or physically be at the scene to kill somebody or participate in the killing to be a principal. There can be accessorial liability in the fact that you were there when it was taking place and you didn't stop it and they charge you for it. Or you can extend it to command responsibility, what Batambidu calls those who bear the greatest burden. But that will be covered under immunity. That's not principal murder. So you can't prosecute Jammeh as it stands for murder under Gambian laws. So anything that the TRRC is doing, it will chase other people between 1996 and the day Jammeh left. They can prosecute General Baji. They can prosecute Yankuba Baji. If at all, they can have evidence that these people actually participated in the planning or the carrying out of murder or atrocities. But as Jammeh stands today, and I'm glad Reed Brody came out and Salih Tal, the president of Gambia Bar Association, and said they have to enact new laws to be able to deal with Jammeh. And I know some of the draft constitution watering down of the immunity clauses had an eye on chasing Jammeh, but that's dead now. So now Jammeh can come to Gambian soil right now and you can't do anything to him. You know what I'm saying? And they said that this is not me. Gambia Bar Association president said it, Reed Brody said it. The ICC, Fatou Bombensida said it, and the other white guy, what's his name? The head of the ICC said it. So what are you going to do to him? You're going to chase the other people who were actually on the scene killing people. If you have any crime linking Jammeh actually to ordering it or planning it, then you can take Jammeh on, but you need to prove that. You understand? And I'm not going to cover Jammeh here. I said this from day one. I'm not going to cover Jammeh in one day. What I talk about when it comes to Jammeh is his unbeatable record in terms of development. He developed young people like Pata, created opportunities for them. He developed
how did he develop me?
He developed young people like Fatou. He developed young people like Suleiman Bokarba and other people. You know what I'm saying? Pata, when he left Gambia, Gambia was better than when it was before Jammeh. When it was before Jammeh. True or
right? Yeah. Fatou, while I wrap up, I don't.
You're watching GRTS every day. You're watching the ACE cable in Gambia. You went to Gambia. Did you go to Jara and you saw that beautiful road? Was it there when you were little?
Tama is a good politician.
Yes, it was there. It was there. So Fatou, I don't. Whatever arguments that Lyman have done in here, like I don't want the whole transition thing to actually center around Jammeh. Even the TRRC, in as much as Jammeh is a big factor in it, there were some other things that had to do with TRRC beyond Jammeh. So I don't even want to talk about it. If President Barrow if Jammeh wants to come back to the Gambia, he's free to come back. Let him come back. Whatever is going to happen to President, I don't have any control over that. But I know President Jammeh is not that stupid thing he's going to come to the Gambia now. I am very aware of that. But that's besides the point. Your question was, what does this whole thing mean for the transitional, the transition program, right? I think if you ask me, anybody who asks me, until this day, 4 years, almost 4 years into the transition, what we call the transition, right? Well, we probably will not even have to call it transition. It's a full time of president now. We cannot even point at a single thing that we say tangibly had been achieved at this time. There has not been anything that set out that they think had completed, because we have listened to the President's State of the Nation address, right? everything that he had given on that place, because I took my time and went and tried and do a comparison between 2019 and 2020. Most of what he had given in 2020 were kind of like a replica, if not a repeat, of what he had said in 2019, and they were a continuation. Not even a single one of what he had said in 2020 said we started this in 2019 and we completed it. Even the security service reform, the civil service reform, the electoral laws and all that, everything the president talked about, he said is in progress. It's in progress. When is this going to end? Is it going to be towards the end of his 50th term? Is it going to be the second year term? Is it going to be at the end of the third year that they envision they're going to get? So if you look at it, we can only measure what we have seen. From 2016 to now, I haven't seen a single thing that we have seen this without achieved. Now, there's one thing we talk about, which is the independence of the judiciary. But the independence of the judiciary is key. But when you look at under Yahya Jammeh, he was the one having direct interference. President Barrow cannot afford to have that right now. The times have changed. So that is not something that he's going to take credit for. What we can actually say is judges are now confident to say they can make a decision and go and live with it. What Lamin is saying was happening on the Jammeh, when it comes to killings, we all know what happened under the period. So that position is not the one we're talking about right now. When we look at the transition justice program, we look at the manifesto of what they have come up with. We say this is what we intend to do when we come into office. This is what we're going to judge by. We have to go and see point by point and see the bullet points that they submitted, or even after. When you look at the NDP, the things that they said they were going to attend, let's look at it and which of these have been attained. What the president can talk about right now is the roads that he's building. I am not in any way saying that building of roads is not important. They are important. They are definitely important. But that is not what we're going to judge our progress from 2016 to now. Jammeh was building roads, because he was killing people too. He was taking out resources. People were going missing. People were getting dismissed. So and all sorts of violations of our rights were happening. But we cannot measure to say, oh, Jammeh had built roads or he had upgraded the Farafenni hospital to whatever. Then that's not how we measure it. So President Jammeh at the end of his term is going to be measured by what he had done. It is not what his intentions were. So it will be up to him to say, well, I had asked for 3 years, I got 5 years, I wanted to do it, I couldn't do it. I'm not able to do it in my 5 years. Now give me another 5 years, I should be able to do it. When I'm not able to do it in 5 years, give me extra 5 years, in 15 years, I should be able to do it. It will be up to what Gambians to measure, to see if they can do it. Now, what we're going to do right now as Gambians, it doesn't matter what political party it is. We can pander in here. My party, I can say, hey, I'm going to win this in the first round. As Suleiman can say, they're going to win in the first round. What Gambians have to see is we have to measure and see the condition that we have now, which is President Barrow. Is this what we need to progress to move the Gambia forward? Would it be the UDP? Would it be the APRC? Would it be the PDOIS? Now, it will be up to Gambians to measure these things and see which party has the most likelihood to do this. If you ask me, I think we have the most competent leadership. We have the most structures all over the place. We have the preparedness. We have the programs. We have the ability to connect with Gambians to advance this forward. So that's what I'm saying. I'm telling Gambians, let's go into 2021. And while I do that, I will pitch with the last word to say, go and read all the programs of the political parties, look at other variables that makes up a good leadership, and you will find that UDP will...
I'm going to put you on the spot here, I'm going to have to put you on the spot here. Listen, when you talk about competent leadership, it is not a match to die. When you talk about policies and programs, for the mere fact that your party, I know these are highly conceptual issues, is talking about a liberal economy, running a liberal economy that will be left to the private sector. You have a liberal economy that in revenue and in taxes, what you get is about 1.4 billion. Now, that is just sufficient enough to finance your health sector. Your party is not telling us where they're going to get the money for education, where they are going to get the money for tourism, for all other sectors, for agriculture. So you would think that Gambians will trust you. You are the change makers. You see, I think you guys should really tell Gambians the truth that you don't really have the key to make the changes. We are the change makers. If we have to start talking about policies and programs, we believe state intervention in agriculture, in industrialization, in health. We are the change makers, and you are not. Thank you, Fatou.
But Joy is the change makers and UDP is not. You agree to that?
No, the thing is that, but just to put this in here, Saul is like almost like 1 minute delay from us. I was listening to him from Facebook. I cannot hear him from here. Of course, like I don't want to have to digress this and go somewhere, but then everybody had known, like when you look at nobody, like let's even say presumptuously we're talking about Honorable Salah and Senator Dabo in here. There is no comparison. I have all enormous respect for Mr. Dabo. For Honorable Salah, he is eloquent, he is charismatic and stuff like that. But he's already a sociology undergraduate sociology graduate, whatever. So when you look at his track record, when we're looking at it, people can look to see what have you done in that country. And this is what I've been telling people. And I have told this in numerous times.
And we see in this debate, Fatou, and we can bring
from the moment anybody
back.
had known these people. Just come on, hold on, I'm coming. I can hear what you're saying. But when you look at it, Honorable Salah had served in the National Assembly on numerous times, but there is not a single one that anybody can measure his record to. There is nothing. His Excellency Dabo was a lawyer all through his time. From anybody who is talking about it, they even talk about his role as a post-draft person, and then you go to his position or his role in the 1981 coup, his representation of several people, and how he came even as a politician, how he transformed the party and became very best party in that country. And you come out to see that he served as a 40 minister, he served as vice president. All these are things that I am assuming, or I am attacking journalists when they stand in front of Senabo. Before somebody actually started, everybody is saying that the UDP, or people are saying the UDP is a Manika party, or people are saying that you break up the coalition. The question people should impose these people is, Khalifa, Useno, people want to know now, you guys are wanting to be presidents of this country. We want to know, what have you done in that country that tangibly people can look at you and say that, you know what, we can trust XYZ. President, Useno, you have been a foreign minister, you have been a vice president. Tell us, what have you done while you were there that people can say that you have done something that you can build upon. Honorable Salah, you were in the National Assembly for this number of time. Tell us what you have done. I think when you guys have an opportunity to have this tool before you, this would be the question, and then people will ask. When you talk about the programs parties, so I have read your programs. Every sector of your program that you look at has like a 3-4 paragraph. And each of those, other than you guys talking about, we can go to Barakunku and go to the Bantabas and talk about price of it. There is no tangible thing that you guys have profiled that other parties did not. We talked about this. But anyway, Fatou, I am at work.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Saul is so delayed. He's like a minute behind me.
No, quickly before you go,
so in terms of you have to invite all three of us in here.
No, Fatou, you're not going.
Weekends, if you are available.
I want to do this. I want to have this debate. Since Khalifa Salah has invited Dabo and...
No, Dabo is not going to debate with him. Dabo is not going to debate him.
No, Fatou.
Guys here, yeah.
So
he isn't going to go
this is what you have done here. Sol is here, Lamin is here. You have other people who want to represent other parties. If we're available, we can have this and we can go at it. I'm about to jump into work, guys. Thank you so very much. So
let's just conclude on the leadership, and we'll come back to program some other day. Let's conclude on the leadership, right? Now we are in a situation whereby each child is saying, right? And the other one is saying, okay, prove it. Now, Pata is suggesting that a lawyer is better than a sociologist, right? Because he just called Khalifa just an undergraduate sociologist. But a sociologist who devoted his entire life in serving the people of the Gambia through different capacities, whether as an advocate, as a researcher, as a parliamentarian, as a worker in social welfare, building institutions for kids to be educated, for Gambians to have jobs. The character itself speaks for it. You know what? I think I'm even prolonging this simply because even the international community, and that is why I will refer you back to the WikiLeaks reports, clearly pointed out that Salah is the only one who can change that country for better. Dabo, what he's capitalizing on, not setting out anything tangible to change that country, you and I know that very well. And that is going to lead us to policies and programs. But we don't have enough time to debate that out. Sometime we will come back.
I will make sure I host this debate because we're gonna have the Doi and
please do.
I definitely
please do
this. Since
please do.
Seems like I'm not able to get the party leaders, but I'll be able to get you guys.
No, don't bring in the party leaders. Don't bring in the party leaders.
No, that wouldn't try Halifa.
Hussein is debating Halifa. He's not debating Yaya Jammeh. So
do it all, but I still am not able to get.
No, that wouldn't challenge Halifa. Too scared.
Lamin, Tamba, what's your final message, Lamin? Message.
My final message has been a pleasure coming on your platform. We're relieved that the dodgy draft is dead. We can now go and amend the 1997 Constitution. And if I'm right, I'm not 100% sure whether first past the post is entrenched. I don't think it's entrenched. Parliament can amend it and still make it a 50% plus. You understand? Mm-hmm. They can still amend it and then make it a 50% plus. I think it's fair that if you're going to run a country, you have the majority behind you. You can't run any institution when you've got your back against the wall. When you're fighting from the very first minute, it's just wrong. So I'm happy to have Fatou here. I'm glad that he's maintained the fact that UDP's policies are secretive. No one will know them until they get into government. UDP owned the government for 2.5 years. They didn't give us anything apart from the wood bridges in Bundung and London Corner. Jammeh, I'm not even going to talk about the footprint because when we come to development, we almost don't have any competition in the Gambia, right?
Yeah.
My coach.
You have 24 years, bro.
Yeah, but look what
you cannot compare yourself to PDIS or UDP. We were giving you our taxes.
Actually, Doi haven't had a chance to show their hand in government.
But that's what I'm saying. We were giving you our taxes, so you cannot even compare them.
2.5 years.
UDP had,
my football coach always said to me, "You don't have to watch a good player for the entire game.
You don't even play a good game, though.
Once he touches the ball 2-3 times, you know if he's got it or if he hasn't got it." We watch UDP play an entire game and we know they don't have it and we'll not allow them back in. All right, Fatou, thank you very much. Always appreciate Kerr Fatou. Always appreciate my Gambian brothers.
Thank you so much, guys, man. Fatou, next time have GDC, APRC is here. Because the other parties don't have a lot of people actually.
Look, I don't mind UDP. I don't mind UDP. You guys just need to get rid of.
We'll bring CA, CA. Yeah. GDP, Doi, and APRC, I think, right?
Yeah,
and APP.
GPDP.
I don't mind UDP at all. You just need to get rid of that one, Ajiam Sek, and get young ones to take over. Yeah, I don't mind UDP at all. In fact, if you do that, we might have an alliance next year. Who knows?
He is a member. That's fine. Thank you, guys, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lamin. Thank you. I think that was a very interesting conversation. I wanted to bring 1 or 2 people in to share their opinion, but we will do this tomorrow to have Gambians come in and give their reaction to what just happened. It's kind of late, so we have some other things to do. But I will definitely do this tomorrow and have another panel with CA and other political parties, just to get their reactions as to what happened. This was prompted, and we want to thank you all for watching. And I hope the Parliament can do something. I don't know what, but the Gambian people deserve a constitution, and I think this was a big blow. $16 million of the taxpayers' money just gone in vain. Well, thank you very much to all of you watching. Bye-bye and good night.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel. Yeah,
Love like fire. Wow. Love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la? Skincare la. 2020 lañ wax de. Waaw. Fii nag mooy Kerr fan Kerr zero tache. Perfect skin. Skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek. Loo lañ soxlaati rek. Maanaam bu ngeen am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la. Fii ngeen di ñëw. Suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal ba la ka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi defee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw skincare plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ indi rek nag products yu baax du Paris du Italie du USA du fi mu nekk nii sax boole nañ ci nag Sweden fu nekk lañ leen a indilee products bu dee tamit nag da nga ñuul rek ñu lay jamaa natural beauty that melanin dripping we do have stuff for you as well emuñ si skincare products rek ñu ngi ci cuub yi tamit fu ne la ñoo jaar in fact sax last commercial bi ñu defoon waxuñ leen woon dañoo dox ci ay kawar 9A grade rek nag waaw we do have bundles as well hair si lu ne la ñoo dox ñun ñu ngi ci rafetal jigéen rek luy taaral jigéen rek waaw boo leen di tukki tamit bëggoon rek classic suitcase ñu dañoo dox ci ay Samsonite duñ dee indi any brand of suitcases though other than Samsonite comme li ma dee wax rek boo eggee airport dëri Samsonite dafa am nuñ laa xoolee waaw ngeen ne lan nag waaw skin ci moom la ñu gën a xamee nag skin care products ci moom la ñu gën a xamee ñu ngi dox tamit bentee tamit si ay dàlla man waaye man nag skin care mooy suma specialty xam nga rek jigéen bu sa xar kanam réglé loo def mu jag am nañ Patricia Reiner, Kiwi Eye, the whole range, Lighten Up Gold, Tomatine. I mean, the list can just go on and on and on and on. Lépp loo xam ne rek luy taaral jigéen la ci yooyu rek la ñoo dox. Skincare plus nag emuñ si Gambia rek ñu ngi United States ñu ngi Gambia fii ba pare bu dee yaa ngi anywhere in Europe mun nañ la ko mail within 3 days rek ñetti fan rek nga jot say diw emuñ si loolu rek dañ laa consult tamit balaa ñu laa jaay diw dinañ def a free consultation pour wax la rek exactly li nga xam ne moo méngoo ak sa kanam dinañ leen wax tamit ne rek am nañ perfumes fragrances men's shirts accessories we do dresses as well we do blouses I mean we do shoes name it we do them Skincare Plus 2020 is our year of perfection zero task fi mu nekk nii réew mi fii kenn waratu fi task kenn waratu fi am problème kanam kenn waratu fi am problème yu picca boo ko amee dafa fekk ne rek ñëwuloo ci place bi fii. Love like fire. Bring my love like fire.
bara ñin la domoro ka diate
boy jannon CK's restaurant
e say nakko be ni na dimbal nimba domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de te ka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo fendin lon dunia kono domoro betama ñillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domo la jang damman
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandi
e oto sa nakko be mu CK's restaurant
ndafa na janno mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
Miss B Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for all beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. Find us at Kololini Road opposite Gaddafi Mosque at the Aqua Preacher Station, or call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.